The dense, fragrant smoke spiraled upwards, enveloping the man in a denim apron and yellow shirt, who, with wide eyes and an expression of pure astonishment, held tongs over the grill. Beside him, a tabby cat, with the air of being the true owner of the place, observed the scene with an almost insolent calm. Golden, succulent meat skewers sizzled over the fire, but it wasn't the delicious smell that held the man's attention, nor the satisfied purr of the feline. It was something more, something that hung in the air like smoke, a revelation that would make the entire city hold its breath. What, after all, was that man selling that was capable of shocking everyone, of turning upside down the lives of a community accustomed to luxury and opulence? Now, I'm going to ask you to click subscribe to the channel so you don't miss stories like this. In the quiet and prosperous city of Scottsdale, Arizona, where the sun kissed the mountains and the houses displayed architecture that blended rustic with modern, lived a man named Caleb. Caleb was not a name often heard in the city's social circles, where surnames of traditional families and ancient fortunes dictated the rule. He was a simple, middle-aged man with graying hair and a gaze that carried the lightness of someone who had seen much of life but was still surprised by small things. His routine was as discreet as his clothes, a worn denim apron and light-colored shirts, always impeccable but without any ostentation. Caleb worked in a small establishment, almost hidden among the designer boutiques and sophisticated restaurants that dotted the streets of Scottsdale. It was a modest place, with a simple facade that barely caught the attention of the luxury cars speeding by. Inside, the aroma of grilled meat mingled with the smell of spices, creating a welcoming atmosphere that contrasted with the cold gleam of the jewelry stores and art galleries in the region. Caleb was known for his skewers, prepared with a care and a secret that only he seemed to master. The meats, always fresh and of top quality, were marinated in seasonings he prepared himself, recipes passed down through generations of his family. His customers were few, but loyal. They were local workers, some curious tourists who ventured off the main circuit, and even some of the wealthier residents who, tired of the elaborate and soulless food of chic restaurants, sought the authentic and comforting taste of Caleb's skewers. He didn't have an extensive menu, nor dazzling promotions, just chicken skewers, beef, and sometimes an artisanal sausage, and, of course, the cat, a tabby cat, with green eyes and an aloof posture, who seemed to be the true mascot of the place. The feline, whom Caleb affectionately called Boss, spent most of his time lying on a wooden shelf next to the grill, observing the movement with calculated indifference. Boss was an attraction in himself, and many customers stopped to pet him before placing their orders. Caleb's life was a cycle of hard work and simple satisfaction. He didn't seek wealth or recognition. His greatest pleasure was seeing the smile on his customers' faces as they savored his skewers, and Boss's satisfied purr when he offered him a small piece of meat. However, behind the apparent simplicity, Caleb kept a secret that, if revealed, could shake the foundations of that city so concerned with appearances. A secret that had nothing to do with money or material possessions, but with something much more valuable and at the same time much more dangerous. Something he protected with the same dedication with which he prepared his skewers, and which made him look at the world with a mixture of astonishment and apprehension. What do you think Caleb was hiding? Leave your comment and tell me what you suspect. The truth about Caleb began to unfold unexpectedly, like a loose thread in a tightly woven fabric. It wasn't a grand event, but a series of small occurrences that together formed a surprising picture. It all started with the visit of an elderly lady, with white hair and kind eyes, who appeared at Caleb's small shop on a weekday when business was slower. She didn't ask for skewers, but for a glass of water. Caleb, always helpful, promptly obliged. While drinking, the lady observed the surroundings with curiosity, her eyes fixing on a small picture hanging on the wall, almost imperceptible among the kitchen utensils. It was an old, time-faded photograph of a rural landscape with a simple house and a field of sunflowers. "What a beautiful place," she commented with a soft voice. Caleb smiled, a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "It's my homeland," he replied, with a tone of longing. The lady nodded, and before leaving she left a small, folded note on the counter. Caleb, accustomed to tips, didn't pay much attention, but when he opened it, his eyes widened. It wasn't money, but a note with an address and a phone number, and a single word: help. In the days that followed, other notes began to appear. Some left by customers who seemed to have come just for that. Others found under napkins or tucked into paper bags, all with addresses and phone numbers and the same word: help. Caleb at first was confused, but the repetition of the notes and the expression of despair in the eyes of some of the people who left them made him realize that something bigger was happening. He began to discreetly investigate the addresses and phone numbers, and what he discovered left him stunned. The people leaving the notes were, for the most part, elderly, many of them with health problems and financial difficulties. And the addresses were of simple houses in more distant neighborhoods of Scottsdale, where luxury and ostentation gave way to the reality of those struggling to survive. Caleb realized that, without knowing how, he had become a contact point for a silent network of help. People, for some reason, trusted him. Perhaps it was his simplicity, his honesty, or the gentle sparkle in his eyes. The fact is that they sought him out for something money couldn't buy: support, a listening ear, and often a hot meal. Caleb then began to act. He used his savings, the fruit of years of hard work, to buy food, medicine, and other essential items for those who sought him out. He didn't advertise his services, nor did he ask for anything in return. He just helped in silence, driven by a compassion that seemed to spring from his soul. His skewers, once just a source of livelihood, became a disguise, a way to keep his true merchandise a secret. He sold hope, dignity, and a little human warmth in a city where the glitter of gold often overshadowed the needs of others. What would you do if you were in Caleb's shoes? Share your opinion in the comments. The news of what Caleb was truly selling spread like wildfire, not through gossip or newspaper headlines, but by word of mouth, whispered among those who had been touched by his kindness. It wasn't long before the city of Scottsdale, accustomed to measuring people's worth by their possessions and status, was confronted with a truth that made it pause and reflect. It wasn't luxury cars, expensive jewelry, or sumptuous mansions that Caleb offered. He sold something much rarer and more precious: compassion. He sold the certainty that, even amidst opulence, there was still a heart that cared for the most vulnerable. At first, there was distrust. Some thought it was some kind of scam, others that Caleb was taking advantage of the situation. But the persistence of his actions, the discretion with which he acted, and the genuine gratitude of those he helped, dispelled any doubt. Caleb's small skewer shop, once an almost invisible spot in the Scottsdale landscape, became a beacon. People from all social classes began to seek him out, not just to buy his delicious skewers, but to offer help. Volunteers emerged, food and clothing donations began to arrive, and even some of the city's wealthiest businessmen, touched by Caleb's story, offered financial support. The city, which once seemed so focused on itself, began to look to the side, to those who lived on the margins of glitter and glamour. Caleb, with his simplicity and his giant heart, had brought about a silent but profound change. He didn't become a hero, nor did he seek fame. He continued to prepare his skewers with the same care, and to help those who sought him out with the same dedication. Boss, the tabby cat, continued to observe everything from his shelf, as if he had known Caleb's secret all along. Caleb's story is a powerful reminder that a person's true worth is not in what they possess, but in what they offer to the world. It's about the ability to see another's pain and extend a hand, even when no one is looking. It's about the hope that springs from kindness and the transformation that can happen when a single heart decides to make a difference. And you, what did this story make you feel? Have you witnessed anything similar? Tell us in the comments below. Your experience can inspire many other people. If you've made it this far, I've left a story that I'm sure you'll like. It's here on the screen. Just click on this video that's appearing for you. See you there.